Hey guys, so today in class we learned how to draw some waves, and if we understand how to draw waves, then we're going to understand the different properties of the wave. But it seemed like we maybe needed a refresher, or it would be nice to have a refresher for when you go home and do your homework. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this example, or the first problem in our work. So let's go ahead and also write down the steps, just so that we know them. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to read the problem. So this is a wave with an amplitude of 3 squares and a wavelength of 4 squares. So I need to make sure that I have enough room to draw my equilibrium line. So that's our first step. So number 1, draw equilibrium line. Step number 1. So we have to do that, and I have some space here. Well, we said the wavelength, or not wavelength, the amplitude is 3 squares high. So I have to be able to make it 3 squares high, okay, from here. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So I could draw it there, but I'm going to just kind of draw it here in the center. So this is my equilibrium line. If the wave is at rest, that's where it would rest, on this line. All right, so that's step 1. The next step is basically looking at the wavelength. So they said that the wavelength was 4 squares. So I'm going to put, for step 2, mark the wavelength. Okay, so we're going to mark the wavelength 4 squares. So we're going to say the start of our wave is going to be here at that very end, and I'm going to count over 4 squares, 3 and 4. So the start of my wave, the end of my wave. The next step is we find the middle of the wave. So 3, find center of wave. Now, in the middle of the wave is where we're going to intersect the equilibrium line again, or we're going to pass through it. So half of 4 is going to be 2. So we're going to count over 1, 2. And that's the center, and it even looks like the center of that point because it is the center. So after we do that, we have to think about our amplitude. So the amplitude of our wave is 3 squares. If you remember, amplitude is from rest position or equilibrium to crest, or rest position / equilibrium to trough. So our amplitude, let's go ahead and mark with a hashed line. So that's 4. Mark amplitude. All right, so if I count up 1, 2, 3, 3 squares, my wave should never pass this hashed line, all right? So it will never pass that hashed line. If I count down 3 squares, 1, 2, 3, my wave should never pass this line, so this blue line here. All right, so let's continue. The next thing that we want to do is go ahead and mark the crest. So step 5. Find crest and trough. So we said that the crest is going to be 3 squares above the equilibrium line. So when I look at that, I look at the start of my wave, and I look at the middle, and I find where halfway between those 2 points are. Halfway between these 2 points is going to be right here. I'm going to follow with my finger, and I'm going to mark where my crest should be. So my crest is going to be at the top there. Then I look at the middle of the line, or half of the wave, and the end of the wave, and in between those 2 points, so halfway between, you're going to mark where the trough's going to be, and that is right here. Okay, now all we have to do is connect our dots. So I connected here, that's my crest, and then I have a trough. So remember, each wave has to have a complete crest and a complete trough. So let's do that one more time. So I'm going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. I'm going to then mark the wavelength. I'm going to find the center of the wave. 1, 2, oh, and that was 2 because our wavelength's 4, so half of that is going to be 2. Then we're going to mark the amplitude, so we already have that marked. And then we're going to find the crest and the trough. So I look between the start and the middle of this wave, and I find halfway between, which is here, and I go up to my amplitude line. That's where my crest is going to be. Find the middle and the end of the wave, halfway between that is where my trough is going to be. 1, 2, and I connect my dots. okay? And you're going to do that all the way across for each one of these examples. If you need more help than what you think this video can offer, then come in and see me. But hopefully this will do something for you, or at least like guide you in what you're supposed to be doing. All right, have a great day.